All right, everybody. So let's take a look at a couple of examples in this section. Learning to read a ruler. Now, there are two main kinds of rulers. There's the standard measurement, standard ruler. Whoops, turn that off. That we're working with right here. And there's also metric. And I know that most of you probably don't care for metric, but metric is a lot easier. The standard ruler kind of evolved over the centuries, and the metric was designed at one time, I forget when, like in the mid-1800s or something, to be the simplest type of measuring system that you could have. So it's really good. Anyway, so where is so A? What's that pointing at? Well, before we get there, we got to understand all these little tick marks here. Okay. So you'll notice that the tick marks are different sizes. So if we start over here, the biggest tick mark between there and the 1 inch mark is right there. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to, there. That's going to be the 1/2 inch. Okay. So that is half. Now, if we go to the next smallest one, right there, that'll be a 1/4. If we go to the next smallest one, right there, that'll be an 1/8. If we go to the next smallest one, which is the smallest, that'll be a 1/16. Okay, so on this ruler, the smallest thing is a 1/16 of an inch. It doesn't go down to 32nds of an inch or 64ths, which actually is pretty unusual. But that's kind of how it goes. Okay. So so A is pointing at this guy right here. So what is that? Well, we know it's between 1 and 2 inches. So it's going to be 1 inch and something. I've got a fraction bar there. I'll put my inch marks. Let's see. So that's 1/2 inch. The next smaller line is going to be 1/4 inch, which is the same as that one. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3/4. Okay, that's how it goes. All right, well, what about B? All right, so B is going to clearly be between the 2 inch and the 3 inch marks. So 2 and something inches. I don't know how many. Okay, so we've got 1/2 inch. Nope. 1/4 inch. No, the line being pointed at is the next smaller one. So 1/8 of an inch. So that's going to be 1/8 of an inch. So that's going to be 1, 2. Oh boy, this is tricky. You know what I should do is I should blow this up, then I can point at it easier. How about that? There we go. All right. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 of those 1/8. And that makes sense because if I go 2 more of them, if I do 2 more 8s, 1, 2, that takes me to 8/8. Or oh, I'm sorry. No. That was 6, 6. Oh, dang it! I said it all wrong, or I said it pretty close. But sorry about that. Let me start over. So if I just hit lines that are the same length as whoops, not that one, as the same length as the one being pointed at, it'll be 1, 2, 3 of those 8s. Now, if I go back and I do it the way I was doing it before and hit every line, every 16th, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 16ths. But if you cancel a 2 out of the top and bottom, you still get the 3/8. So it's cool. Okay, sorry about that, but I never do a retake. All right, so how about C? We'll C will be our last one. So let's see, we could go 1, to 3/16. So 3 and 3/16 inches, and 3/16 does not simplify because 3 and 16 don't have any common factors. Anyway, that's kind of how that goes. Okay, so let's take a look at number 4. Now this one is metric. Okay, so with with the standard ruler, like we saw a moment ago, we were talking about halves of an inch and quarters and eighths and sixteenths. Lame. Okay, our number system is base 10. Okay, that is 2 37 hundredths. Okay, because it's a base 10 system. So how about we have a base 10 ruler instead of a base 16 or a base 8 or a base 4? I mean, how ridiculous is that? So let's, whoa, too far. And so you'll notice that if you count up all of the little tick marks between, say, 0 centimeters and 1 centimeter, 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 you'll find that there are 10 tick marks in there. 10, yeah, because metric is so much easier. Okay, and then the big tick mark in the middle, that's the halfway point. Okay, that means you're at 5 of them. So A is going to be 2 complete centimeters and another half a centimeter. Bam, I'm done. I'm done with that one. Okay, now what would that be in millimeters? Because you need to be able to do both. Well, there's 10 there, another 10 there, another 5. That makes 25 millimeters. Yeah. So see how much easier that is? That standard system that we use is so ridiculous. How about B? Well, let's see. We've got 5 complete centimeters, and we go 2 more tick marks, so 2/10 of a centimeter. I can cancel the 2's and get a 1/5. Okay, to a 5 1/5 centimeter. How many millimeters would that be? Glad you asked. Well, we got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 2 more makes 52. Or 52 right there. That's all you do. It's just so much easier than that silly standard system we have that nobody else in the world uses. Okay, a fence is to have 3.5-inch wide boards between 2 posts. And you can see right there that, yeah, that's the width of each of the pickets, that are 94 1/4 inches apart. So from there to there, 94 1/4 inches. So that the space between each board, the gaps, is always the same. And the fact that they're the same makes this a lot easier. So calculate the number of boards and the gap between them, and then round your answer to the nearest 16th of an inch. Okay, so how many boards? Well, I'm going to go to my calculator. So we've got 94 1/4 inches to play around with. And we're going to chop that up or divide that up into 3.5-inch segments, or 3.5-inch wide pickets. So it looks like we can fit 26.9 boards in between. Well, we're not going to do a 0.9 of a board or 0.3 of a board. So we can get 26 complete boards, 26 complete pickets in between the 2 posts. And then we're not going to be able to fit another one in. But that's okay, because we still want a little bit of a gap between them because it looks better. Plus that way when there's a windstorm, it doesn't knock your fence down as easily. Okay, so we can get 26 boards in there. Coolio. All right, so let me go here and I'll say, so we can do 26 boards. Cool. All right, now, how much of a gap are we going to have? Okay, this guy right here, because that's the other thing we got to know. Well, it would be nice to know how much total gap there's going to be. All right. So if I go, let's see, 94 1/4, 20 boards. Okay. So if I say, all right, well, I've got, again, 94 1/4 inches to work with. Now, I'm going to take away from that 26 boards at 3.5 inches each. Is that what it was? 3.5? Yeah, 3.5. Okay, so what that does is that says, all right, the total amount of distance to play with, but get rid of the space that's going to be occupied by our 26 boards at 3.5 inches wide each. That's going to leave us 3.25 inches for the gaps. So let me turn that on. So this gap, and that gap, and that gap, and the next, all the way to the end. All those gaps together are going to add up to 3.25 inches. Okay. Great. Well, how many of those gaps are there? Well, I'm going to have a gap just before the first board, and I'll have a gap right here just before the second board. And so every board is going to have a gap come before it, all the way down to our last board is going to have a gap before it. But there's going to be one more gap after that last board. So if we have 26 boards, there's a gap for each board plus the extra board. So 27 gaps. All right. So we've got 3.25 inches to play with for gap. If we chop that up into 27 pieces, we get 0.12 inches for each gap. All right. So let me write that down because I'm really good at forgetting stuff. Sort of my superpower. So 0.12 inches per gap. Okay, but we're using the standard system of measurement, not metric. Yeah, which means we get to do more math. Yay. Okay, so it says let's round to the nearest, to the nearest 16th of an inch. Well, how the heck do we do that? Well, our measurement is already in inches. So here's how we do it. And we're going to get a lot of practice at this, okay? So it's 0.12 inches for each gap. And if we want to go to 16ths of an inch, just multiply by 16. And what does that round off to? It rounds off to 2. So we're going to get 2/16ths of an inch per gap. Okay. And good, I got that up. So 2/16ths of an inch per means divide, per gap. Each gap is 2/16ths of an inch. Now you can cancel the 2's in the 2 and the 16 and get 1/8 of an inch. So 1/8 of an inch gap. That sounds reasonable. If you think about a fence, you don't want a 1 foot gap. You don't, but you do want to have some kind of a gap, just a little bit, 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's how we do it.